The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. As Daryl Morey mentions a few times, shout out DraftKings. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS, and brought to you by Adam Ksebe, the official realtor of the process. ProcessRealtor.com. Body Bio, supplements for a healthier life. Get 20% off anything at bodybio.com with promo code RTRS20. And LL Pavorsky Jewelers, or Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners, go and get engaged. As well as Kinetic Skateboarding. Get free tunes for the life of your board with the purchase of any new snowboard. On the show today, one Daryl fucking Morey. We did a Spaces with him once, but he has not been on the pod since he was president of basketball operations for the Rockets.
Which really should have been assigned to the Rockets.
Yeah. In the bubble, he's like, yeah, I'll come on. Why not? It's like, it was weird.
A little weird. It's
a great chat with Daryl. Before we get going, I did mention Kinetic Skateboarding. I have 4 different items in my Kinetic cart right now at kineticskateboarding.com. I decided that when it's their sponsorship, I want to wear more Kinetic stuff. So I was looking for stuff with Kinetic above the fold. They're sold out of my size on a lot of t-shirts, hoodies, sneakers that you're not going to get anywhere else. Just Kinetic. I love it. Go to kineticskateboarding.com and use promo code Dave Silver for 9.1% off your first order. Without any further ado, Amos.
A little ado. Oh, wait. Okay. Are we going to do Amos and the Chef and then Daryl? Or are we going to do...
No, we'll do Amos and the Chef, little intro, and then
Okay,
swaps.
little intro.
Okay. Amos and the Chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who hopes that Doug Collins is still a consultant for the Philadelphia 76ers. One Mike Levin.
Nailed it. We spoke before we talked to Daryl, and I will just say ahead of time, we both felt a level of comfort with Daryl that we were worried about.
Had no right feeling.
To feel like we can ask him kind of whatever and kind of bait him into maybe getting in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And he responded to that feeling by, I think, also matching that level of feeling like he could kind of say whatever.
One thing we had to take out.
And there's something, there is something we have to take out. CJ, I'm sure you'll handle that.
Yep.
It's not like a secret trade room or anything. But
I'll have to ask. Yeah.
It was cool.
Yep.
We love Daryl. He's very generous with his time, and it is wildly good that we have James Harden and Joel Embiid, and I'm happy about it. And more importantly, they're happy about it, which is really awesome.
Make sure you stick around to the end of the pod where there's just like an internal Ricky Morey controversy that gets like unveiled by Daryl at the end.
I'm still kind of recovering from it.
All right, here he is, Mr. Daryl Morey.
People are going to think we set this up, but Spike had said not till after the trade deadline, so you can either yell, "You're not." I'm going to move over so we have this behind me here. That's a little better right there.
Well, this is officially the first time that you're on the podcast as the GM.
Oh, that's true.
Rather than
right.
I want to ask about that. Did you do the podcast
right?
knowing that you were like, I want to be with these guys all the time?
Yeah, wasn't that clear? I thought I said that my dream was to be with the RTRS guys. So
here you are.
Here. It's happened. So
yeah, you did mention coming on prior to the trade, and I just said it's not gonna. We have too many questions about whether the trade happens or not, so it made more sense to do it now. So I appreciate You waiting?
Yeah, you were like, you'll just dodge every answer. It'll be lame.
I just want it to be cool. So congratulations on the big trade. It made us
effort, as you know, but very exciting. We're in the arena, as Teddy Roosevelt would say. So
how much is? Because I'm putting a lot of this on.
He was. And this is not live yet, right?
It is, but we know you're joking.
Okay,
we're not live. We're not.
Okay,
live.
we're not putting this on this part.
Okay,
I was joking.
Okay, all right.
That's great.
So, yeah.
Okay, so we're going. This is officially happening now.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry.
I just want to make sure that you know it.
Yeah, no, I don't want to go Billy Bush. Thank you. For
Yeah.
Yes, I'm ready now.
So
that's your GM comp.
Yeah.
Ouch.
No,
Ouch.
come on.
Yeah, that's tough.
See, you mentioned the hug, right? So we wanted. It's such a momentous moment, James Harden arriving in Philadelphia, and I assume it was your daughter that was filming.
My NYU Tisch Film School daughter.
Okay.
Was ready for the moment.
So, and you posted on Instagram. It went everywhere. We wanted to go, if you wouldn't mind, sort of go through some of the frames and get what you were thinking. So here you see James Harden. You've captured him. Here he is. What is your thought right here? Wait, CJ, slow down. What's he doing? CJ, I want to go frame by frame.
You were talking CJ up before this.
I know.
And now it's already a turnover.
So you see him. Here's where you know it's real. What's going through your mind right here?
I am thinking, do not mess up this dap. I'm notorious for missing high fives because I'm 6'4", and
right?
And I'm fairly coordinated, but not on the high fives. So
did you? So the next frame here, CJ. So here you are going a little high on the dap, I think, if you're looking at this here.
Yeah. Yes,
right. So at this point, did you think that you were going to not just go in for a hug, but just an embrace, a warm embrace? CJ, you can go to the next one. Like you look like he had just come back from war. Like that's the kind of hug that's there.
I heard.
It's a two-handed hug. Was he hugging you back as hard as you were hugging him?
Definitely not. It was a bigger hug for me. It got awkward, but I think he had to shove me off. I would say this. It was a standard NBA. There's a standard NBA handshake with players. You do the this, and then there's a pull in, but then there's usually a quicker release, and I held it awkwardly a little too long.
Well, it's been a long time.
Yeah, the jacket worked. The jacket helped. It made it less awkward because there's some bulk there to separate me.
Yeah.
From him. So I think that made it feel more comfortable.
The final frames, okay, you're holding on a little too long. You're still hugging here. And then, man, he looks like he's looking away when you're looking right at him. This looks like somebody loves somebody more than the other person loves him sort of situation.
I think that's probably true, but I think he was going to acknowledge my daughter.
Right.
He knows.
Right. Okay.
So I'm going to go with that as the reason. That's the best reason.
It's a great moment. What did he say right afterwards? Because it looked like he was about to say something as soon as it went. It was just saying hi to your daughter.
It was very pedestrian. I think it was just hi, hello, hi stuff. Yes. We should start worrying about him, making shots and throwing corner threes to Danny Green.
Yeah.
Danny Green is the big winner.
Huge.
Philadelphia fans.
How do you let's just step back. Like, you gave the answers at the press conference, but this isn't the press conference. This is us. We're your guys. You moved to Philadelphia for us.
Just whisper it to me.
That's right. How do you feel like emotionally? Like you did it. Like you got the guy that you've been holding out for. I'm sure there are other potential guys you've considered in the last 6-7 months, but you got your guy. How does it feel?
Feels great, but apparently you can't have nice things in Philadelphia because as soon as it happens, you lose to Boston by 48. So
that's right.
that was an interesting one. I I was only comforted they didn't break our 3-point record in Houston yesterday. That was what I was holding on to. But back to James. Obviously, lots of options that we had to consider. I think anytime you lock in on one path, one scenario, you get in trouble in this league. So, and it's those other options that allow you to make the right deals and things like that. So I would say we had one other, I would call it almost a very good option that we liked. But then it looked like the James thing could happen. So
that was earlier than the trade deadline. You had another option.
Yeah, I would say pretty heavily explored, maybe 3-4 days out. And then for reasons that would reveal who I'm talking about, I can't really say why it sort of shifted, but it shifted. And I would say, yeah, as you know, and I think you guys don't believe me, but but it's true. You have to be comfortable with your status quo. We had a whole plan of convincing Ben to come back to play. Who knows how successful that would have been. Didn't seem to make a lot of sense to push on that option until, we had to do it. So
if the trade didn't happen, you guys would have been like, okay, we have you until at least July. Mm-hmm. Come to the table. Mm-hmm. We'd like you to play. There were plans made. There were PowerPoints drawn.
I've gotten the Sixers off PowerPoints. I'm very proud of myself.
What are they on?
We're bullet points now.
Okay.
There you go.
Big bullet points and spreadsheets. No,
great.
PowerPoints I find to be a waste of time. But there was a lot of planning. What will be said? Who will say it? Mm-hmm. What meetings? Me. With the. Trying to convince Ben to come back. Yeah, it would have been very demeaning. I mean, I would have been
groveling.
I would have been doing whatever it took. Let's just put it that way. I would hope it wouldn't lead to groveling. I wouldn't want to use that adjective, but there would have been a lot of persuasion attempted. So
well, you said, I know you guys don't believe me. I would have waited some. I actually believe you. As this went on, you barely talked. It's not like you talked at all, but I just started to get this sense that I was like, this dude just doesn't give a fuck. Like this guy will wait. You seem to just have a higher tolerance for that than anybody else does. I wonder, I wonder what it feels like to wait, what that pressure is like for you.
Well, as an organizational resolve, I think where it gets hard is when, and I would say agents are very good at this. They understand there's so many different powerful constituents within a team, ownership, front office, coaches, very significant players.
Us.
And it really, I forgot podcasts. Yes, podcasts.
Right. There you go.
Podcasts, parents, Yeah. So I would say if you don't have alignment, it's really like a defense. You have to play on a string and you're only as good as your weakest point. That's really how it is here. And look, I've been through where that alignment isn't there and it's really tough. Here it was, very steadfast from the start. Even from the first moment we got the trade request, that look, we're trying to win a title. We have maybe the best player on earth, probably the best player on earth on our team. It has to be something that's going to make us have a real shot at winning it. And we'll wait. And I think Joel probably gets the most credit because he is so basketball intelligent and off the court intelligent, but in this case it's basketball, to know that he's a student of the game. He knows what he needed next to him to have a chance. And it was, probably not even as good as James Harden, but James Harden is great. So I can't believe he's top 30 all time or something like that. Someone just ranked him. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
so.
That is wild.
We take a break from our amazing podcast with one Daryl Morey to talk about our sponsor, Adam Ksebe, Ksebe, the official realtor of the process. Spring is coming. And as spring comes, the housing market starts to get busier again. Perhaps you've been waiting until after the winter months to go and get that brand new home you've been thinking about. Well, Adam Ksebe is there to be your partner. Specialize his concentration, the Delaware beaches, but his team covers all of Delaware, covers all of Maryland. They're based out of Long and Foster and Bethany Beach. And even if you're not in Delaware or Maryland, you go to Adam Ksebe and he will find you a realtor. He will interview them. He will find you the right person. Buying a home now more than ever is crazy. You need someone who's responsive. You need someone who's there morning, noon, night. You need someone who knows the market. Ksebe is your guy. I trust him. He's a good person. And he cares about Ricky people the most. If you're going to buy a shore house, you got to go Delaware over Jersey. More options, better pricing, and way lower property tax. I love the Delaware beaches. I'm telling you, go to Ksebe if you need a realtor. 302-864-8643. 302-864-8643. That's a cell. Call him or text him. Just give it a try. I promise it'll work out. Adam at processrealtor.com. Adam Ksebe, the official realtor of The Process.
I'm interested in the, I have a list of questions here, but you brought up like that you would have done like a presentation to Ben. I think that's a very interesting thing if the trade hadn't happened. While you were sitting around, and Spike asked an interesting question about waiting, while you're sitting around trying to convince this guy to play, to come back, that Philadelphia's the place for him, like, did you consult anybody weird, like outside the realm of basketball? Were you asking like
who specializes in these types of things?
Yeah, like any R&B singer to like come up with like a. Was there something that you were like going really outside the box to think about ways to get him back in the building?
I will say this: everyone had an opinion. There's no shortage of opinions, both appropriate and inappropriate. People who seemed to think they knew everything about Ben Simmons. People who didn't know anything and knew it and still were happy to give strong opinion. Like there was the passion was real on all sides.
The situation was really ripe for opinions.
Yes, it was. It felt like a political election, honestly, like where people were. There was very few people in the middle, like, yeah, I can see both sides of this thing. Let's just have a reasonable discussion. There's very little of that. In terms of consulting, I'm trying to remember the name of the guy. There's some like very prominent and apparently influential with NBA players. It sounds like a lion or something. Like it's like a psychologist, some pop psychologist.
Okay.
That I didn't personally consult with, but one of our staff did, because we thought, okay, if it's something like Maine or something. Anyway, that if this person were to say something, it might get Ben. Like, because trying to get to Ben was, to be fair to him, he clearly, I believe him. He was going through something, and it's just whether or not we could have gotten to the point where we would have him play basketball for us. So
we might as well just get the Simmons stuff out of the way now, and then we can talk about Harden and all that. But I don't want to bounce around. Looking back on it, obviously there were mistakes made by everybody. If you look back, if you could do something different, what would that be?
Well, I mentioned one at the I actually do think I maybe could have turned this into a three-way. I'm not sure it would have worked, but it never really came to that. I think Houston did a good job of, keeping their goals a little quieter. They clearly had shifted to a goal of wanting to keep their pick last year, which was protected, I think, to 4 or something like that.
So you could have turned it into a three-way last year.
Yeah, I think if we had turned it into a three-way at the time, it would have definitely been optimal for us and Brooklyn, but maybe not Houston. So maybe it doesn't work. Maybe it had to be this way, but that would be one that I
But I
thought
mean,
about.
but I mean, with the Simmons situation, like I don't want to belabor it. I really don't.
Sure.
And I know there's a lot that you can't talk about, but it's so unique
Yeah.
in its
I should have had a
situation.
better relationship with Ben. I really believe that. That's on me. I think everyone should think about what they can do better. I think knowing how sensitive he was to public comments, that behooved us to be just organizationally more careful on that. I think it's important your top players and their different spots where you have to pay attention.
Mhm.
I think, I'd probably say those two. I mean, I'm usually a more upfront person with trades with players. I'll be very upfront with them when things could happen. Usually it's more on the deadline. So when the timing on the first Harden trade got very challenging because it was in a time when no trades don't normally happen. And so, I could have done a lot better. I just focused on myself mostly. So
Do you feel like, so you've been here, this is your midway through your second season here. And do you feel like you've been like cosplaying as a normal executive? Like you're this like deal making guy. You got just like deals coming out of your pockets left and right. But like when you've been here until this Harden trade, you've just been making like the most normal guy moves possible. Like trading for Danny, getting Horford out of here, trading Josh for Seth Curry, drafting Maxey when he fell, when he shouldn't have fallen. And then, a handful of very like normal good stuff. The George Hill trade at the deadline didn't end up working out, but like a normal George Hill for 2 second-round picks type of thing. Like, do you feel like you've been in a cage this whole time? Like what's the reason for that?
First off, I appreciate you calling me normal, because my 4th grade teacher would famously, because I was driving her crazy, she would come in the morning and be like, Daryl, today, just pretend you're normal. We know you're not normal, but just pretend for me.
That's what we say to the Sixers like every day.
We apparently can't do anything normal. Elton, Brad, and I have a sort of an inside joke on Tuesday, like that. Like so many crazy things happen that it's just like it's Tuesday. It's just like every day, and it does seem like the Sixers do attract that. I would say on the moves, to your question, I think I just go like, look, the goal is to get to the title. And to me, it's like water running downhill. If you're going to give me the simple path with simple moves because there's low hanging fruit, I'm going to take that. If someone puts a big dam up, then we're going to go sideways. I think Sam said it famously in his letter, we'll zag when others zig. We'll do that when we have to. But like, look, if the best move is the one that's obviously straightforward, then we'd be fools to not do the straightforward moves. Like, so we'll just do those.
Look at you coming on here quoting the letter.
Yeah. You said a lot of things in the letter.
My favorite part of the letter, by far, not even close second, is when he talks about, he's like, one time they had me go talk to the media. and during that moment, Daryl stole Robert Covington, and Sixers' fortunes were forever ruined from that moment. I give Sam so much crap for that part of the letter. I'm like, like we didn't have that lockdown before. Come on, man.
It was very dramatic.
A little credit.
It was very dramatic.
Yeah.
So you mentioned we were joking obviously about the hug with Harden, and then you mentioned that you probably should have had a better relationship with Ben. Do you, specifically thinking about Harden, who you obviously have or seems you have a personal relationship with, does having, as a president of basketball ops, the person who's making the personnel decisions, basically, does having a good relationship with the players make it harder to do your job?
No, for sure it makes it easier. Look, everything's sort of part of a system and a structure. And you guys know how much the top players, whether it's Joel or James or, Ben was when he was here, make on the team, along with the head coach. Like any one of those people can make moves work or not work, just on the sheer of their talent, their approach, how they use the player, all those things. So if you're not in very close contact with the key players on the team, the head coach, it just doesn't work. I mean, it just doesn't. Like you can have the greatest player brought in ever, but it's just not going to work. If I've had that. I've had times in the past. I can't probably go into it, but people know that where, James. I can talk about him now. Thank goodness. I couldn't say his name before. I can say his name again. It's great. Where James and just didn't quite click anymore with the player, and we had to make it work. Like, look, if you're going to win the title, like your top players have to be in a structure and a system that they're comfortable and excited about, and with players around them that they're excited about.
It's very cool that James wanted to come here because players don't historically pine for Philadelphia.
I'm learning that. I'm surprised by that, but I'm learning that. Yeah.
Maybe Houston, this is the start.
Players liked Houston. I don't know, low income tax, whatever, but
But Harden has not won a championship, famously. Neither of you, obviously, and you talk about all the time how that just has to be the goal. Do you feel like that like Harden has gone, not all of his fault, obviously, not passing judgment, but like there's been a bunch of places where he's now left kind of like a little bit of chaos in his wake. He's getting up there in age. This is towards the tail end of his prime, depending on how you define it. Like, does he feel like this is kind of his last chance? And does he feel like that as much of a drive to win a championship as you talk about?
Yeah, his drive is very high. I would say, to get into that, look, I would never ask him that, so I can't know. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you just his actions, like these early returns, even in little things, practice, when you get there, how you deal with, the medical performance staff that was looking at his hamstring, how committed you are to the program they put together, which is already underway, how much you're talking to the other key players on the team. And look, if it wasn't a rosy picture, I wouldn't be saying anything. My job. But I'm telling you, it's a rosy picture. Now, talk is cheap. Early returns are cheap. Like, you got to go do it. But the vibe is good. I don't know. For as much as that's worth, the vibe is
it's worth a lot.
Very good. James went to Milwaukee with the team. Even our performance staff was like, hey, might be a little easier to do the strengthening they're working on with him to make sure he's in great shape when he comes back. It might be easier to do it here. He's like, no, I've got to be with the team in Milwaukee, even if I'm not playing. There's a team dinner. So yeah, he's extremely committed. I think, look, we all feel those pressures from outside. I would say James is unique in that I'll bring up like, people are saying this, and he'll always be like, I don't know. And mostly players are lying, but James isn't. Like he doesn't really get caught up in the public stuff. He's not scrolling Twitter like probably all of us do too much. So I think he knows. Look, I think Joel and James are the best pairing he's had in his career, and he's had some really good ones.
So these are my words, not yours, but the Sixers just traded a player who, with 4 years left on his contract, decided he wasn't going to play for that team anymore for a player who, for the perception is for the second year in a row, did that very same thing. Do you think that the perception of that is a problem for the sport, that like the commitment to the team is not really what it was?
Well, I think what we went through was pretty unprecedented in a lot of ways. First off, the contract that was signed, which was specifically designed for the player to stay with the team it signs it with.
Right.
That was pretty unprecedented. Second was, generally these kinds of situations arise when a team isn't good and they're like, I want to go play with a team that's good. And we weren't as good as we wanted to be, but we were the 1 seed. And, I think we replay Atlanta 100 times, we win 75 or something, whatever it is. It's not making an excuse. We lost, and credit to Atlanta, but we were good enough to make the Eastern Conference Finals. I think we would have been underdogs in the finals. So it's pretty unprecedented. It's probably on the whole. I think Commissioner Silver had comments today about it. It's probably on the whole not good. I will say I've been a huge proponent of players being more involved in their teams, more involved in the league, more involved in their futures, because I think it's appropriate. I think they are why the league's here. But I think there's probably has to be, I don't have a solution. Look, I mean, you guys both work in the talent business in different spots of entertainment. And, if someone doesn't want to be somewhere, it doesn't matter really what your contract says anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't work. Like, and then it's just really then the only remedies are figuring out money and stuff like that. But you can't make someone be excited about being somewhere. You can't just strap them to a chair and say, write, what would be your nightmare show you would have to write for, Michael?
I can't answer that.
You can't. Oh, because you might actually want
have
the
to
job.
write for it.
You might.
There's things you can't say. There's things I can't say.
So let's say you'd have to script a reality show that they're pretending isn't scripted. Like you had The Bachelor. You'd have to make up some horrible storyline from The Bachelor. But would you would you take that job? Would that be a job you would take?
Depends if I need the money, Daryl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, Mike loves The Bachelor, so
not anymore. There's better
okay.
shows.
Yeah.
But
which one's better, The Bachelor or The Bachelorette? Which one is the dude's one, and which one is the girl?
The Bachelor is the man, and there's 28 women, and the reverse.
That's
yeah.
Yes.
It's a little formulaic for me at this point.
Well,
I think all the controversies are for sure just organically happen on the show whenever I'm having to watch.
Yeah,
it's
and I think the controversy with the Sixers are all fake. And never had any validity to them whatsoever. So
they're just fueling us at this point.
Yes. Are we actually live? Like we are?
No, we're not live. No,
okay.
we decided to record this so you didn't have to sit through the commercials.
I appreciate that.
We take a break from the pod to talk about our sponsor, Body Bio.
We should have made Daryl sit through this shit.
Yeah,
we should have, because I always do the making fun of Woj.
Yeah,
sit right there, CJ McCollum, as I talk about whatever the fuck Woj talks about. But
he would have been down with it. He would have been down with it,
and he would have honestly drank some on screen. So Body Bio. Yeah, that's our bad for not doing that for you.
Next time we'll make him take butyrate while we're on, or E-Lite while we're on,
and show how good your joints are and all the not cramping at all during a
podcast. show his bloat go down with butyrate.
How's your bloat?
So an important thing about Body Bio, they're local, family owned, family operated supplement company. A lot of supplement companies basically buy the supplements from somebody else and put their own label on it and sell it. That's not what Body Bio does. They make their own stuff. The one that we're talking about now is butyrate. Butyrate is a thing that your body makes itself, but does not make enough of. It's almost impossible to get enough of it just eating a normal diet. That's why they supplement it. It's a postbiotic. You take it right after you eat. The bloat will go down. Your number twos will be more regular. Everything about that will feel better. You'll look better because that bloat will be away, but also you'll feel better. Butyrate is 1,000,000% safe because it's just something that your body makes anyway. I'm telling you, you will feel a difference right away. Wouldn't you, Daryl? Yes, I would. Butyrate.
That's what it sounds like. Nailed that impression.
Butyrate. Google it. Butyrate. Go to bodybio.com and use code RTRS20 for 20% off anything in the store. E-Lite, Calm, liposomal vitamin C, butyrate, RTRS20, bodybio.com. Body Bio. Now back to Daryl, who's sitting right here. If you said something bad like you did earlier, like we're going to have to take out.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, just to, I guess, to follow up on that, I agree with you. It is good that players have agency. And I think there are a lot of players who have displayed that in signing 2-year deals when they would previously sign 5-year deals to keep the team on their toes, and use that to have a say in personnel and have to say in this instead of saying that. I do think when you're thinking about like the overall health of the sport, when fans, we were talking on the last podcast, we're thrilled obviously to have Harden, but there would have been something really cool about going for a championship with the players that have been here for a while. Mm-hmm. And I think from a fan standpoint, it's not all about them all the time. The players are people who have lives with jobs. But I think from a health of the sport for cheering for them, when you feel like that can happen at any moment, especially when it's a surprise when the guy has a contract, I think it's sort of like harmful for the ecosystem of the sport a little bit.
I would say though, like fans love trades. I mean, they all play 2K, and it's a North American thing. And I would say one reason we have trades in North America, this is the most win-win trade I've ever seen. Like, we had 2 players who didn't want to be where they were, apparently. And both teams win relative. Like, if we couldn't have gotten this trade done, myself and Sean Marks had just quit and like literally like just say we are utter failures because like I think you guys have mentioned it. Like we were able to add James Harden for someone who's not playing at all. That is a win relative to the league. And they were able to add also, I think, some very quality players for, who weren't excited to be where they were, or at least one of them. So
you talk Drummond? Is that? Or do you mean Ben? You're saying Ben and some other quality players.
Yeah, I will miss Drummond.
Sorry, I thought you were just breaking news there, and I think I just misconstrued what you were saying. Sorry. So you mentioned that you do occasionally listen to this podcast, and I just wanted, and as we pivot to talk about the rest of the team and everything, I wanted to just sort of like give you the floor on if there's anything you want to scold us about or reprimand us for saying anything that you disagree with.
Sure.
Anything?
I have a list. Hang on.
Okay.
I'm kidding. I don't have a list. I do have off the top of my head. I would say one, and it's been so long, but Spike with his Drummond take at the beginning. I could not understand it, Spike. I understood conceptually that like all the things, blocking young players and not the right fit in the playoffs. I get all that. But everything has to be relative to the resources applied. Yep. Right. And so that one and I'm not really scolding. I'm just saying I didn't quite understand your take.
And Spike's not allowed to defend himself. That's the best part.
That's the rule.
It's a pure scold. You defend yourself. We defend ourselves every podcast. This is how we do it.
This is important. Are you allowed to defend yourself?
I can probably. Yeah. That's
okay. What the fuck? I see. I get him. And then I wore this shirt for maximal annoyance to you and Spike. It is a Bored Ape shirt.
Okay. So wait. We got to do this now then. So the last question I had on my list here that
I did this on purpose, by the way.
I know.
It's a maximal annoyance. It seems to have worked, so I'm excited.
So I said, this is the last question I had, but I'll move it up to now. You have 60 seconds to explain to Mike what an NFT is and why something like a Bored Ape is a good investment. And go.
Okay. Do you believe in owning things? Anything?
Partially.
He's not going to concede the first.
I'm waiting to concede.
You just bought a house. Okay. So, I mean, look, it's literally ownership. It just happens to convey things like that you are part of a club. Do you believe in joining a club, a tennis club? Would you join
for access to those courts?
For access to things that then allows you to the pleasures of that ownership. Do you believe in that?
If I do occasionally play tennis, so if I use public courts, but if there was a way for me to easily use those, I understand like there's a benefit there. I understand the.
When some of those benefits are sort of psychic, they're sort of like I'm in this thing, right? I'm wearing the white dress and I'm a woman and I'm like, I want to be seen at this club or whatever. So anyway, long story short, I think I'm failing. I think everyone should sell Bored Apes.
Yeah.
I'm failing.
This is not an ad.
Sell
We're not
now
doing this.
before
We're not doing this.
sell now before it's too late. No. Anyway, look, people want to be represented. This allows you to have scarcity, albeit maybe you'd consider it false scarcity.
I do.
In a representation of yourself in the digital realm, right? Which you're in a lot. Like, how often are you're in a writer's room probably, but after that, are you constantly in crowds of people? You're probably not. Like, you're representing yourself digitally through this podcast, whatever. So this allows you to represent yourself in sort of this exclusive club.
But why does the art all look so stupid and similar?
So you're getting too caught up on the art. That's you notice I never said art.
Okay, it's fair.
Art. Yeah. So
It's the amorphous blockchain thing. Don't you think it's a little insulting to, because I actually understand the technology itself and the potential value, but don't you think it would be better to start like you're making everyone caught up on the bad art because you're putting pictures of cartoon apes on the internet and saying, this is the club I'm in. I paid $82,000 for this picture. But you didn't even get the picture.
I found that folks who are skeptical, which I think is very reasonable. I'm the one of the very middle ground people on this stuff.
Yeah.
They get annoyed by how people talk about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They don't get, like, if you actually take a step back and say, okay, what has really happened? We now have this way, and I'm a tech guy from the heart. That's where I got my start.
Mm-hmm.
We now have this way to, without anyone being able to dispute it or anything, look at and say who owns what. And that's the tech. The tech is that, right? And what do you do with it? The tech itself can't be bad. It's a new thing. It allows you to.
It can be stupid though. It can be.
Well, it can be used stupidly, just like a hammer can be used to either kill someone or hang a painting. Like, so it's
but wouldn't you argue
tool.
that the tech is great? You could use the tech for contracts, for actual digital prints of art, but instead, it's.
Well,
you and Andre fucking Drummond with your
Tobias. Don't forget Tobias.
And Tobias.
And Seth and too many guys.
And Ben.
Keep Maxie away from that shit, man. Don't let it happen. Come on.
No, but like used correctly, it's fine. It's just like, look, new technology brings two things. One is the tech usually sucks at the beginning. It does. And everyone says because it sucks, it'll suck forever. That's not true. It'll always improve over time. And the second thing is it always brings in shysters and hucksters and bullshit artists and pump and dump. All that shit is true, right? But it also, like, these new platforms also become greater over time. And if you're in them at the beginning, there's something greater at the end, having gone through the journey and understanding it.
Sure. Don't use process terms to get people on board. Okay. I can see what you're doing. It's very obvious. All right. Back to the team.
Yeah. We've bored everybody.
Yeah. Back to the team. So now the Sixers have two guys who command double teams. And they're both very good. And I want to hear you talk about how they are as a pairing together, but generally the Sixers have these two players who are good enough to win a championship together. My question is, how do you and the coaching staff get the players around them who are, many of them, very reluctant three-point shooters to not be doing that when specifically on the court with James and Joel?
Some of them are. One of the very reluctant ones, even though they're one of the best of all time, is somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say we have some non-reluctant shooters. Let's all agree Danny Green is not reluctant.
For sure.
Love Danny.
Let's all agree Furkan's not reluctant, although a little doubt has creeped in, but that's on him.
Uh-huh.
Like, it's not from anyone telling him to not fire away. I think, when you miss a bunch in a row, it affects anybody almost. The rest are more reluctant than they need to be. I do think the ability to catch and shoot is going to become more important, especially as James and Joel both collapse the defense. Look, I actually agree with people who say the fit a lot of the fit is it's going to take some time. Look, James works very well with a rolling big, very well. That doesn't mean he won't work with other kinds of bigs, but we both know Joel is not that. Defensively, James likes to switch. Then we're not going to switch with at least that pick and roll. So there's a lot to figure out. I don't want to have a cop out, but look, Doc and Dave Yeager and Dan Burke, the key guys, Sam Cassell, all they're doing is working full time to figure that out. Everyone was on board with this trade, obviously. Look, I always say, like, when you go to the superstar store, you don't get the pick. It's just the dispenser if you're lucky. Normally, hit the dispenser and just poop comes out. Like, you don't get anything. Other times you hit it, you get lucky, you get one. Sometimes you're a team that's lucky enough to have two, like we have right now. But they're not always going to fit. Their personalities aren't always going to mesh. Like but that's where management comes in, coaching comes in. I realize I dodged your question a little bit. I didn't mean to, or I did mean to, but I don't know. I would say there's going to be some figuring out. That's for sure.
Do you feel like not often, we talked about this, not often guys of this magnitude are traded for midseason, and then those teams then go on to have, win the ultimate game, as our friend Doug Collins would say. And so
win the ultimate game. That's
the ultimate game. That. And so what knowing that it's going to be a complicated fit and it'll take time, how much is everyone like weighing? I know when you're playing, it's all in this season, but how much of this was a move for like the next couple of years, more than this year?
Yeah, it was obviously for the next couple of years, but I consider this year to be the most important. I know it's going to sound weird, but look, I very much consider to be the best player in basketball on our team before the trade. And then we added one of the top few, people can debate where. I think it's like all the stuff about taking advantage of Joel's prime, I completely agreed with. I just didn't have an option. If I had an option that would have been like taking advantage of it, I would have. All my options, save this one and maybe that one other I mentioned, would have done no advantage taking. They would have just made us the same, but made it worse later. That didn't make sense to me. So I think every year from now till the end of this run will be the most important year. This year, most important. Then next year, when we're in it, will be the most important. I mean, the time is now, which I love. It may take us some time to figure it out, but the time is now. I would say on the thing of like, no one's ever moved this guy in and no one's ever won a title. Well, it's also not ever happened that much.
Yeah. Where
you're a guy that's good. And then on top of that, if you pick any X, like, oh, it's never happened X that then went on to the championship. Well, yeah, it's like you got 90% odds. You couldn't even bet at that on DraftKings. I wish I could bet on X leads to championship on DraftKings. Like you could get 9-1 on that or something. Whatever X you want to pick, almost.
Our friends at DraftKings are gonna love your casual mention. Of that.
Hey, I try to be a full partner when I'm on when I'm on the RTRS podcast.
So the
I can say that. Right? I don't have to say the whole name.
Right. I was going to say, are you not saying Ricky Sanchez because he's an active player, even if he's not in the NBA?
No, you're allowed to say rights held players on other teams. Okay. Like Sergio Yul. He's
wow.
On our team. We're good. Love you, Sergio.
There you go.
We really screwed LL out of Daryl participating in the LL. Oh my God,
he would have fucking gotten so many just watches and rings all over. He would have really been iced out for Daryl.
He would have screenshotted the audio or something, posted it on Twitter. I still got to send him some T-shirts. I have a whole box of T-shirts for him. LL Pavorsky is the first sponsor of the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast, the original sponsor of the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast, and just an amazing human who has been selling people jewelry for over 3 decades out of the same place. There's no way that you stay in business that long through that many generations of people and you're not great at what you do. The thing that I think is best about LL is I was walking by, I was in the mall with my wife and we walked by a jewelry store and just salespeople everywhere. just like waiting to pounce. It's not what LL Pavorsky's like. It's why he wants you to make an appointment. You walk in there, it's just him. This little bowl of chocolates, there's waters. He's got waters for you, and great jewelry and great prices and a great person to go along with it. LL Pavorsky Jewelers. If you're going to buy an engagement ring there, which is you can't go anywhere else, over 250 Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners have done it. Even Daryl Morey did it. He didn't. 215-627-2252 is the number. Lee at llpavorsky.com or tweet at him at llpavorsky. Supporter of our charities, Providence Animal Center, coded by kids. LL Pavorsky Jewelers.
Almost acquired by Daryl Morey at the deadline.
So Maxey, who is, we assume will start with Harden. I was not optimistic that he would make the sort of leap, even like 70% of the leap he's made this year. It seems like almost unprecedented. How surprised are you, and how much better is he this year than you anticipated him being, if at all?
Quite a bit better. He's beat our expectations now twice. We obviously loved him in the draft, or we wouldn't have taken him.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a good, healthy 10%, 20% better than we thought. And then he's beat expectations again. I mean, he's now, and I'm hopefully people know I'll spin, but it's not a lot of spin. It's in the realm of always reality. Like obviously we've compared Tyrese to past players, start of their careers, how they've done. I mean, he is healthily, that's not a word.
Mm-hmm.
Very solid. Is it a word?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice. Michael, you're the good. You play Wordle? Are you one of those Wordle guys?
Nah, too popular. Get out of here.
Okay. Yeah, that's the thing. Oh, I hate Wordle. Why do people post it? It's like hearing about poker.
I don't care. It's like hearing about your NFT. Anyway, keep going.
Anyway, moving on. Where was I at? Yeah, so if you comp him, I mean, his I don't want to say his exact, but his percentage to be like all-star level is material. His percentage to be a top-level starter, very material. His percentage to be like a high-quality rotation player, almost guaranteed at this point. Interestingly, there are a few like you can find. I'll mention them. You can find people in the past who didn't make it, who started very similar to Tyrese Maxey. You guys are good students of the game, so you'll remember. DeJuan Wagner.
Yeah, sure. Of course.
Obviously, different, like off-the-court stuff I've heard is what fell him. I can remember the other one. That was the one that jumped out to me, and I was like, oh, yeah, DeJuan Wagner.
Who on the high end is someone that you're looking at for him? Obviously, a retired player.
Yeah. Well, he looked actually very similar to early Tony Parker, for example, until now his shot's better. Mm-hmm. So Tony never got a shot until maybe like year 11. It started to get okay. That's an unfair comp for him. Tony's obviously, I mean, I hope he can hit Tony's high end, but I think it's not unreasonable to like say he could be something in that range. Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's why we knew we had to keep him out of it. That was one when, I said it had to be a three-way trade, and I really think we were never going to get him. But I think if a year ago Houston had said, give us the guy you just picked, right? And you can have James Harden. I don't know what we'd have done because it never got to that, but could have happened. So
yeah. We talked about the lack of a ton of catch and shoot options on this team, and how those guys are going to go. But one of the things that have been most frustrating to me watching this team is, obviously there's a big Ben-shaped hole in the roster. Like they're slow, they're unathletic, they're bad at rebounding. Mm-hmm. They transition offense, transition defense. Not like there weren't many plus passers on this team.
Right.
Some of those things are solved by Harden. Not all of them. Mm-hmm. Do you look at, do you see improvement on the roster since the trade deadline has passed? Or are you do you have to say well, this is kind of the team we are, and we're just going to sort of slowly drive to the basket as little as possible?
Well, a couple of things. One is I was I'm not reacting to your lack of catch and shoot options because we do have Danny.
No, there's some.
George Niang.
George Niang, for sure.
for everyone's just feeling down because he hasn't made shots, but I think he's in a normal state 35%.
This is a pro Ferk podcast. I think Mike and I both believe in his shot.
Sure.
Paul Millsap we got for his upgrade in speed.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. This is pretty much the team. We're probably gonna have one buyout. I think we're pretty close. I'm actually annoyed we haven't been able to announce it yet.
Oh, interesting.
So buyout imminent. You can
just like
your headline.
So you just have to. I have a buyout question, but just sort of like you live with the sort of, the limitations of your roster like you would anytime, because it's just tough, because if you got him in the offseason, then you could go like, all right, let's tinker and stuff, but because you got him so close to the deadline, you really didn't have much time to make those moves.
Correct. Yeah. And so look, we're going to be an amazing half court team. We're not going to get enough easy baskets in transition. Defensively, we're going to be better than people think. I think obviously people have always said James is this horrible defender. And you guys watch a lot of basketball, so you know that on the ball he's good. Off the ball, he's been more challenged. He can defensive rebound at a high level. That'll help a lot.
Yeah.
So he's gonna be a big upgrade over what we've had in a lot of ways. But So
okay, buyout question.
Yes.
And here's the question I had before you said this. So your answer will indicate what we're looking at. Rank these needs for the buyout market.
Okay.
Legitimate backup point guard. Athletic wing defender who is a willing shooter off the catch. And backup 5 who Doc trusts for 10 minutes per game in the playoffs.
Well, some of it's not just what we need, it's what's available. So the last one is the closest to what we'll end up with, I think. So
okay, cool.
Yeah. I predict Spike will hate whoever we get.
This is completely unfair.
No, that's from my knowledge of the kinds of players you like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway. I've been disparaged on this podcast for wanting a guy who could fucking dribble and shoot, who had the ball.
You got it. You were right.
Yeah. Thank you.
What's your song say? We were right.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
So this whole, especially toward the end of it, the reporting on it went from like kind of funny to, okay, what are we doing here from my perspective? And I'm in the media and I understand everybody's doing their job. Wendy's doing his job. Woj is doing his job. Ramona Shelburne is they're all doing their job, not insulting them. But like, I don't know what the question is. It just feels like something's got to change because I don't know who this is for anymore. I don't know who it's swaying. I don't know who believes it. I can only imagine what it's like to be on your side as this is happening.
It sounds like a better question at like some media convention that you should have.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just given the really crappy environment I have to live in, and we're just trying to optimize within that. Yeah, the Windhorse Woj stuff got really strange. I didn't I wasn't even able to track it.
Did you know you were in the deal zone when you were in
it? Well, that came out on like Wednesday.
Yeah.
And so I definitely saw it. Like if it had come out Thursday, I probably wouldn't have seen it till much later. But yeah, that was like the whole thing was weird and disconnected from reality. I'd say the biggest disconnected reality from moment I had. Remember that tunneling thing in LA when the Rockets and Clippers played?
Oh yeah.
And like they were like they're breaking into the locker room of the Clippers. I was there. I was standing there, and we're scrolling Twitter about this happening, and nothing's happening. It's like this is bizarre. Like there's nothing happening. So that's how I feel half the time. Like everyone's speculating. But nothing's. I feel bad for fans. It reminds me of the NBA draft where every pick is traded in the second round. They're still wearing the wrong hats and everything. It just seems like cruel to people trying to follow the sport. And that I don't have a fix. Yeah, if we could fix that, we could probably fix politics. We could fix everything on this pod.
Well, it's just fucking weird. Like last I'm sorry. Just the follow up. Like, does it? Sometimes I look at it. And I'm like, X GM or X agent is trying to get this message out. Does that work? Or
Yeah,
can't
you're
you?
thinking about it right. I've heard you guys speak about it very intelligently. It's literally every story outside of sports or in. You should think of like who benefits from that story. That is how it should work, because I would say most journalists are not doing a lot of investigative work. Maybe they're not paid enough. Maybe the incentives are wrong, whatever it might be, but they are on an agenda or an exchange of information for an agenda constantly. And it's frustrating for me as well.
Sell me on Jaden Springer being in the regular rotation next year.
I have to do I get 60 seconds? Will I fail?
No, you have hours. You have hours to do it.
I didn't know how much I would fail. All the NFT crowd is like,
No, shake that off.
Yeah,
Short
you didn't
memory.
represent them too well.
All right. I got to get to the line and make these. All right. Jaden Springer, NBA level, like rotation quality defender already, which is very intriguing at his age. Very rare. I would say defense is what comes later generally, but he's so strong and can move so well. So that's the piece that we're building on. His decision making, and I know the coaches have talked to him. He needs to speed. Doc is doing a good job telling but we need to make quick decisions, catch ball, shoot, drive, pass quicker. He still has that sort of survey mode, even with the blue coats, which is not going to be his role. So he just has to clean that up. But he has like I don't know how to describe it or the best way to, you guys know, because you watch a ton of prospects. He has the ability to take contact, keep his center of gravity and his, whatever that fancy term there, propitiality. He knows where his body is in space at all times, and he can finish and around, and he's got all that. So that's hugely positive. Will that be enough to be a rotation player? We'll see. I think he's got a good chance, but we'll see. I don't know how I did, but I just more described it.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
I like an advertisement for Propecia in the Jaden Springer.
You got to work on that, Spike.
I'm
assuming... Well, we're sold out right now, but maybe if somebody
You're
drops
sold
in.
out.
Yeah, we're sold
great.
out. Yeah.
How do you get away with having a Yankees hat on? Isn't this
It's not a Yankees hat. It's New York Cubans. Negro Leagues, not Yankees. I do oftentimes wear a Yankees hat because now I am a Yankees fan. But
that's like,
but it's not
like wearing. Hat. Everyone thinks it's the Yankees. So you're just being annoying that you're wearing that. So everyone, okay, all right.
Yeah. That is the vibe and the intent. I think it's a similar thing with your board name,
with my board name. Okay, all right. I don't.
So, as you had a percentage of what you thought that the Sixers team could get to the finals. Prior to the trade.
Yes.
Win a title, right?
Win a title.
Yes.
And you have a percentage now.
Correct. Presumably. I do. I love no one asks me this. I talk about it all the time. No one asks me.
Can you tell us what the percentages are, or can you tell us?
I can tell you.
Okay, great.
Tell you. Prior, it was about 3%.
You
said 5.
I said 5?
No, Daryl said 5.
Daryl said 5.
But in the 5 at the time was what Ben could be.
Sure.
Or Ben could come back. Come on.
Okay.
He's goosing the numbers.
Okay.
No, I'm being real.
That's right. No, I believe it.
Okay, for sure.
And then now I think it's somewhere around 13 to 15. Yeah.
Wow.
That's right. I mean, 6 plus 700 at DraftKings, which lines up.
Yeah. That is actually, you probably know how to work with odds. So those numbers are a little high when you see them. You always have to deflate it by about 10% because there's a VIG that's sort of built into all of it. So, it's about that.
So do you feel, is that the best?
I think basically, if you boil it down simple, obviously some teams are ahead of us, some teams behind us. Right now, if someone, I can't wager, so I'm not recommending anyone wager except on DraftKings. If you are a listener, I would say there are 5 teams with almost the same odds, which I've never seen before. It's Phoenix, Golden State, us, Milwaukee, Brooklyn, all have about the same odds, all somewhere in the 12 to 15% range.
It's the first time. I love DraftKings. Love that they're a supporter of us. I don't I'm more fascinated by the odds than I am about betting it myself. I've been interested that Brooklyn, even up until the trade and right after the trade, was still the favorite to win the title. But I thought it was interesting that within the last couple of days, the Nets, so the Nets and the Suns are, I think, both plus 450 or something like that. And the Warriors and the Bucks and the Sixers are sort of right behind it.
When you quote that, you're just looking at one. You should look across. And I do think the majority of places have Phoenix ahead of Brooklyn right now.
Okay, I only know of one. There's only DraftKings, so I don't know.
No problem. No problem.
Is 12 to 15%? Is that the most that you've had in your career?
I peaked. I'm not even kidding. I peaked at something very close to 50%. 90 seconds from the end of game 5 when we went up 5, but before Chris hurt his hamstring.
And you were watching. Were you watching the percentages at the time, or did you look back later?
I look back later.
Yeah. I
look back. So that's last year. We actually got to 18 when we were in game 7 at home. So that's depressing. Mm-hmm. I think even our. It's like, look, it's one of my best shots ever. Our 2018 team, until we see how this team comes together, was a better team at this point. But I think we have a chance to be better than that team.
Are you over the Hawks series? Like mentally?
No. How do you lose 3 at home? Like to this day, I'm stunned.
We're up 26, man.
We're up 26, but yeah, the whole thing. Look, it was a collective failure. Did you guys get more clicks at least? I hope someone won.
It did well.
Great. Good. Somebody got something out of it.
CJ can confirm. I believe it was our number one most, at least on not the podcast version, but YouTube, until the James Harden trade pod. It was the number one YouTube thing, even over our Joel interview.
So the misery plays better than championships. Is that what I'm? Yeah. That's what I'm hearing. Okay, at least someone's winning. I'm happy.
Tristan Thompson just got waived. I know you're not allowed to comment on that, but just an FYI.
He already signed with the Bulls, Spike. Come on.
Oh, he did?
Can't break news.
I don't think if he was just waived, he couldn't have signed with the Bulls.
We'll be waived tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, then I can't comment on it. I can comment on someone literally the moment they're actually waived. On the 5 o'clock waiver. But
well, look, man. I think it is only like perspective. Time will give us the proper perspective on how hilarious it is that in our time doing the podcast, first it was Hinkie, then it was all the fucking stuff that happened in before, and then it was you who came here, given your connection to him, and then you got Harden. So congratulations. We're happy that you're here, and happy, of course, that you got it. And Mike and I are going to have to confer on what needs to happen for the banner to get raised for you. I do think it's a championship.
Yeah, please don't raise any banners until there's an actual banner.
Hinkie banner first, for sure.
Yeah.
Even then, raise number 1 and number 21.
Well, we're weird.
We'll see.
The Sixers will raise those banners.
Look, you guys can do whatever you want, but I know Sam to this day, regrets being raised.
Look, man.
He might secretly like it. Maybe secretly.
He's got to like it.
On his list of regrets, us raising the banner after it was gone is...
That's right.
Yeah.
And obviously talking to the media when you're poaching Robert Covington from him.
Yeah.
Did you guys get mentioned in the letter? Did you get cut out of the letter?
No, we didn't get mentioned in the letter, Daryl, and I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
That is
it's low.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's I don't think you should ever forgive him.
He would have got ran out of town sooner if it wasn't for us, I will say.
Or later.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, potentially later. I guess you could make the argument for we.
So you're still on Young Rock, is that right? I know Spike's got his new thing in New York, and
Daryl, we're hustling. We're moving and shaking. We're on everything. If you want to watch Young Rock on NBC in a month, then you're welcome to.
Okay.
Good.
That hasn't come out yet?
Season 2 hasn't come out yet. Season 1 is on Hulu and everything.
Do you have anything new you can announce? Anything new you're doing?
No, not yet. Not yet, Daryl.
Is it because it hasn't been waived yet, or what?
That's right.
Like that?
It hasn't officially.
You have CBA rules as well.
That's right. The paperwork hasn't been filed, and I'm sorry to say this is actually a citizen's arrest for tampering. So we're going to cuff you.
Did you know, by the way, Daryl, that Mike wrote a pilot about a show for Ben Simmons?
That. Okay. That is I've not read it though. Now I want to. I think. or maybe I don't.
We sold it. I could send it to you.
You sold it.
We did. It was
Congrats.
for charity. We
That's
sold
like
it.
getting that's like getting
did
out of these. It's like getting out of the NFTs early. You sold right at the right time.
No, this was in 2018. It was not, the characters are not like Ben and his family. It's based on. It's a
based on
that kind
That's
of.
cool. And you like co-wrote it then.
I wrote it with my writing partner Patrick, and we sold it to NBC, and then they swiftly said no thanks. But we did get paid for it, and then we gave some money to charity to let the listeners read it. Which was
Can you get the rights back, or is it one of those 10 years you get the rights back sort of thing?
Sort of similar thing to Ricky Sanchez. We have the rights, and no one wants them. That's the vibe.
Got it. Okay, understood.
But fun to you get your money, you get out of there. But sure, we'll send you a copy. See if you get some laughs out of it.
Yeah, I'm emailing it to you right now.
If you wrote it, it must be good. So
there you go.
That's my principle.
Well, seriously, we really, just I'm telling you to your face, even though you occasionally check in on, see how we're doing, what we're saying, what any negative stuff we're
Spike
throwing
thinks
away.
that whatever, like I somehow have mind melded you, like I'm Spock and Kirk or something like.
No, you just I knew at one pod that you mind melded him a little bit. That was it. I just
we chatted. That's because we.
But I didn't know that, and I knew it. Like, you have to give me credit for that. I didn't.
I don't know. I didn't hear what we're talking about. But
you said something during
jealousy.
a pod.
Is it jealousy?
No, not at all. You
kidding.
said something during a pod that I raised my eyebrow at, and I was like, I pushed on a little bit. I walked away, and I went to Daryl, and I was like, "You got to Mike."
That's very funny that you asked Daryl if we talked rather than asking me.
Not your co-host.
That's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. Well, Daryl, we really look.
Yes.
We give a shit about this team for whatever horrible reasons we have, and we're very excited. And it's cool that Harden wanted to come here. It's cool that you brought him here. It's cool that Joel's the best player in the league. It's cool that Maxi's the man. And there are a bunch of players on this team I like. They're slow. They don't pass fast enough. They don't shoot fast enough. They don't really play enough perimeter defense. But I am charmed by most players on this team, and I hope you get your title, man.
I'll add one last thing.
Yeah.
Everyone was questioning if Harden was sincere that he wanted to be here.
Mm-hmm.
I know that to be true, that he wanted to be here over other destinations That's first time. So, all right. Well, very cool. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you, Daryl.
Thanks, dude.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
That is Daryl Morey, the president of basketball operations for the Philadelphia 76ers. We kept him for an hour. He did a couple of other interviews. I saw he was on Colin Cowherd. I didn't listen to any of them. So I had to have ours be special.
Outing himself as not only a listener of this podcast, but also someone who talks to both of us occasionally. But we're not doing, we criticize. It's not, look, it's not like
we criticize. We criticize.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nothing more than I'm a tea leaf reader. I can't stop loving tea leaves. That's it, and I can't stop reading tea leaves. Rather, so
I think that we talked about it a lot on the podcast, but I think there was a real world where he didn't trade Ben and held on to him. Mm-hmm. But I also think that Embiid is good enough to where even getting somebody that wasn't on the level of Harden would have still upped those percentages enough to where he would have done those trades with like some picks attached to then, make a bigger trade in the offseason.
It was the Sacramento trade, right? That's the one.
I think he was talking about Bradley Beal.
Oh, right, because the injury.
He got injured.
Right. I thought about that. Yeah.
3 or 4 days ahead of time. Yeah. So that is interesting to me. That is interesting to me. Yeah. So could be a potential thing later this summer where Brad is brought on as the third guy. I don't know. I don't know if that matters anymore.
Could I interest you in one Tobias Harris?
Could. Some picks. Jaden Spring is a rotation player next year. I got a guarantee. We did it.
All right. Thank you, Daryl. Thank you for listening. We'll be off until after the All-Star game and stuff. So enjoy your weekend. Listen to the last Ricky. Listen to this one. Are you done with TTP?
Yeah. You know Lickface.
If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you.
If you don't fuck with me,
then I won't fuck with you.
But if you fuck with me,
I'm gonna fucking kill you!
That's a plan B.